It's time to hear it from Harlan. Utah Director of Athletics Mark Harlan takes you behind the scenes with the Utes, the Pac-12 Conference, and collegiate athletics. Now, here's your host, Mike Legasholt.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the May edition of the Hear From Harlan podcast. Coming up on the show, Utah has 7 teams win a combined 10 regular season or tournament titles this year. It's been a great year. We'll talk to Mark about the spring wrap-up. Also, Utah softball, the NCAA's Mariah Lopez will drop by. And we'll talk to Mark about some big picture things with facility projects and graduation on the Utah campus. Also, the Crimson Collective that's coming up in our last segment. And a lot to get to. So, Mark, let's just get right to it. Welcome to the show. Thanks for dropping by.
Mike, it's always good to see you. A little bit earlier than normal when we're taping this. So good morning.
I got an extra cup of coffee in me, so I think I'm good to go. You good to go?
As well. Let's do it.
I know you're an early riser and get after things early, so I think you're good. We'll check on our crew here in a moment to see how they're doing. But, hey, appreciate you coming in. And, yes, we're here a bit early. It's been a busy time of the year, and more so than usual. As I said at the top, we've had 7 teams win a combined 10 regular season or tournament titles in the Pac-12, ASUN, the RMISA with skiing. It's been a great year and just a strong finish as we have softball coming to town for NCAA's this weekend.
Yeah, it's been a remarkable spring. I also like to follow it up to say it's not been a surprising spring because I think we've seen this build, particularly in the last 24 months. You know, coming out of COVID, we had a real collective goal as a department, as a coaching staff, as an administration, and certainly, most importantly, our student athletes to really come out of COVID the very best version of ourselves. And across the platform of multiple sports here, we've seen success. And I've often felt that you can latch onto a couple teams' success if you're a student athlete on another sport and want that.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate, all stalwarts in skiing and certainly football and gymnastics and others who have been at that level, and then watching all our teams do the same and to be able to celebrate in that way. But it's certainly been an incredible year. And to have it finish like this in the spring with more to come is certainly really exciting.
Well, already a great start, as you mentioned. You guys were your highest ever in 25 years in the Learfield Directors Cup winner standings as you came in. The highest ranking, 23rd. That's the highest since 1997-98. So as you mentioned, it's been a strong fall, strong winter, and now a strong close to the spring sports.
The Learfield Cup, for those that don't know, Mike, it's really how we as administrators gauge our overall athletic program. It's a very fair system. It takes every one of your teams that gets to the postseason. You get points for that, and then certainly as you advance. So it just is a way to equalize everybody across any conference in America. So to be where we are right now in such a high spot, again, is such a testament to our coaches and student athletes. And we're not done. That's the most important thing. I think now what we're seeing is it's not enough just to make a tournament,
right,
or to make some type of postseason. It's time to go after and win those things and chase down championships. So incredibly excited. This conference is so hard across so many sports. And I remember when we won women's basketball regular season. I mean, that to me is one of the hardest championships you can win. I think we had 6 or 7, maybe even more teams in the postseason. And then along comes this softball championship last week. I don't want to diminish any others, but you're talking about 2 sports in our league. Historically, that's where the national champions come from. So just remarkable work by so many of our students, and I'm sure our fans have really enjoyed it as much as we have.
Yeah, speaking of softball, they won the first ever Pac-12 tournament last weekend. They beat Cal, number 5 Washington, and number 2 UCLA on Saturday. Dramatic win on Saturday. What a great close, and we get the host regional play this weekend.
Yeah, just incredible. I mean, it's our last home event, really, in terms of where we're at. We'll have baseball wrap up this weekend as well, but then to host the NCAA championships, by a team that missed out by, I think they were the last team out last year.
Yeah. And
instead of pouting about it or sulking about it, they just went back to work. And so it'd be fun to talk about Mariah and that journey when she comes in here in a minute. But I'm just so glad our fans get to celebrate with that team this weekend. It's just an awesome thing.
Yep, so the Utes open up against Southern Illinois on Friday at 1:30 out at the Dumpkin Family Softball Stadium. Baylor and Ole Miss also in town, so a 4-team regional that will run through Sunday, double elimination, and the Utah Utes third place in the Pac-12, their best finish ever, 15-9 in conference play, and again, they won the tournament over the weekend. Mark Lacrosse, also a great year for them. Their second year in the ASUN, they are back-to-back regular season champs, won the tournament this year, got them into NCAA's for the first time.
Yeah, and not only just got to the NCAAs, had such a good regular season record, obviously going undefeated in the conference, winning the conference tournament, but avoiding that bye game in the NCAA tournament. I believe there's only 16 teams that make the lacrosse final, so it's a very hard championship to get in. Played Notre Dame, obviously tough place to play. Notre Dame team that just inexplicably got left out of the tournament last year, and I think they took it out on us a little bit in front of their own crowd. But just a remarkable season by Drew and the team, and really you're just seeing the growth of that sport. I mean, we had so many people come to the home events this year. The tailgating got bigger.
Yes.
You can really see what's happening with lacrosse here at Utah. And I'm excited about everything they accomplished. Very young team, too, so it'll be interesting to see what happens to them next year.
Yeah, 11 players made the All-ASUN Conference team. Drew McMinn, the coach of the year.
11. Think about that.
11.
11.
That's amazing.
That's unbelievable.
And that program was just a club sport not that long ago.
That's
so
right.
Your leadership and the department getting behind that sport growing, it's been tremendous to see the success and the fans come out and support them. Been terrific.
It's been great, and I really do appreciate the fans coming out. It's a fun sport to watch. If you don't watch it a lot, you see a lot going on. It's taken me a few years to completely figure out the diving at the end. It's like, why is that guy diving when the ball's way over there? I figured it out now, and I love to watch it. And again, I really appreciate Drew and his staff for everything they've accomplished. Also
last weekend, the Utah track and field team went to Pac-12s. They had their best finish ever as 9th place. And 2 champions, the first 2 ever, Mark, Emily Venters into 10,000 and Simone Plurd into 1,500 on Sunday to wrap things up. I'm really glad you brought that up, because with all that was going on with softball this last weekend and everything, I thought Emily and Simone and that women's track team just performed amazingly. I mean, really, if you haven't seen some of the video footage of those 2's races and how they won, it was just spectacular. I mean, I had not realized we had not won an individual since we've been in the Pac-12 in these championships, and to have 2 on the same day, I believe. I think it was afternoon and evening. Just an incredible job by our track team. The best finish we've ever had. Again, we had some really good sprinters as well. It's not just distance, and just an awesome group. Again, I do want to say what's been so amazing about this success has really been the winter's effect on training goes understated on all of these athletes. It was hard, no excuses, right? But the fact that they grinded through all that, I mean, I saw these 2 running in the winter, coming to work. You could see them running all over. It's just amazing what everybody had to overcome to win these championships. But I really want to give a lot of credit to our track and field team. I mean, Kep did an unbelievable job leading this squad, and historic finish for them. You talk about the Pac-12 and the Cal-Pac market. From your time in Arizona and UCLA and here, that's tough to get through that gauntlet. The men's tennis this year went 3-1 regular season against the Cal-Pac, which is USC, UCLA, Cal, and Stanford, and they won the Pac-12 regular season championship. That was amazing to me. Yeah, just, again, another example of a team that just, had to be indoors. I don't think they got outside to train until late in the year. I think we only had one meet outside, one match, I should say, but just remarkable. And again, we had some great seniors, but also had a lot of youth on that team. So we'll see what happens with that team going forward. But you're right. I mean, beating all those California teams is pretty special. When I get to gymnastics, we haven't talked for a bit, but they, since our last show, placed third in the country for the 3rd straight year. Another good run by the Red Rocks' Miley O'Keefe, 2-time national champion in the beam and all around. Yeah, I had a chance to go to Fort Worth and watch them compete and support them. And, obviously they were all disappointed. And I think about, you're disappointed over finishing 3rd. I mean, that's where that program is. And I choose to think about the Thursday night competition when we actually beat Oklahoma, which was totally unexpected by everyone else except for us. To beat them again was going to be difficult, but we gave everything we had. Just a remarkable year. Again, another league championship and Miley's performance, and the beam team, which probably would go down as one of the best teams ever on that particular event in gymnastics. I still don't know how they do it, mentally, physically, or anything in between, but just a remarkable group, and so excited to have so many of those super seniors decide to come back, and it'll be another great year forthcoming. Yeah, one of those super seniors, Miley O'Keefe, who will be a super senior next year. The 10.0 to stick it on beam to wrap up that semifinal, that was a special moment. And to see Grace McCallum after almost 2 months off come back and was so big on bars of beam was just fun to see an athlete have that much emotion to get back with their team. Well, you're right about Miley. She's very consistent in doing what she does. Yes. And she's going to go down as one of the all-time greatest Red Rock, which is saying something.
But you're right about Grace. Grace has been an Olympian, has had so many years doing this. I remember when she got hurt and seeing her the week after, and she said, Mr. Harlan, I just am going to try to get back for Fort Worth. That's what I'm going to just try to do. And sure enough, she was able to get there and perform just so incredibly well. And to see her joy in accomplishing that was really, really cool. Amazing team. And really, Tom just did another remarkable job getting that team into the top 5 and a top 3 finish this year.
All right. Well, golf is wrapping up, Mark, but Javier Barcos for the Utah golf team is off to regionals this week. One round is in as we record this show Tuesday morning, and we'll see if he gets to the nationals. Yeah,
Javi had a great round yesterday. Great young man, just hilarious. Mike, if you've ever had a chance to interact with him, he's dry sense of humor, but man, he can play golf. And the team didn't advance this year. They were really young after having so many seniors, but Javi's just been kind of a rock for them. But it'll be fun to see what happens over the next couple of days.
All right, I want to get your thoughts on some other spring sports. Baseball, as you mentioned, wrapping up at home this weekend against Oregon. Women's tennis is done. Also, beach volleyball done for the season.
Just picking up on beach volleyball, I mean, they had a couple wins over Oregon this year, including in the tournament. You've really seen some improvement in them. Women's tennis, I thought, took some really good steps forward. Again, very, very young, back-to-back, I think, top 20 recruiting classes. Baseball, obviously, it's had its ups and downs this year. Really young team. We had senior day last week, and there was only 3 seniors on a team that's 30-plus in the roster. So that tells you, what's coming. We got some pitchers. We had to play a lot of freshmen and sophomore this year. So we'll see what happens with baseball. Obviously, we want them to continue to get better. We'll continue to support them, and we'll talk a little bit later about what we're going to do for these guys going forward.
All right. Also, the NFL draft has taken place since you and I last talked. 3 guys selected, and Dalton Kincaid, a first-round selection by the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, how about Dalton, right? I mean, it's just a remarkable journey for him coming in from USD, where he was the best FCS probably player in the country. Our guys did a great job in recruiting him, and he's just such a special young man. His family, I was so excited for him. Quick story about Dalton: after the softball game on Saturday, get a DM, and it's Dalton. Just so excited about the softball results. And just, said some really nice things about my leadership, which was really kind. And then I'm realizing just earlier in the day he signed his contract, but he's thinking about the Utes and his experience here. And I just told him, I said, him and his teammates getting us to the Rose Bowl a couple of years ago has just really lifted the whole department, Mike, like we kind of talked about. So excited for him, and equally so for the others that got drafted. I mean, very close with Clark Phillips. I think he landed at a great place in Atlanta. It's a great city to live in, and I think he'll just thrive. And Braden, Braden's such a special young man. I got to know his mom in this journey, and how hard he's worked. And just, it's so fun to see these guys have that kind of success. And there's other free agents who I think are going to wind up doing really well. I think Mo's going to be great in Cleveland. So it's always so fun to watch. And now, as my son reminded me, we have so many of these Utes just scattered all over.
Yeah.
Sundays or whenever the NFL plays, Sundays and Mondays. Now I'm reading Saturdays, which I'm a little concerned about, by the way. But just all these days you can root for the Utes across the NFL teams. But really excited for all of them. It's fun to watch these guys achieve their dreams.
All right, speaking of dreams coming true, Utah softball had one come true this weekend. They won the Pac-12 Tournament. They're hosting regionals this weekend, and one of the big players behind that surge has been Mariah Lopez, our pitcher. So come back with Mark in just a moment when we continue with the Hear It From Harlan podcast.
For tickets, apparel, team schedules, and more on the Utes, visit UtahUtes.com, the official website of Utah Athletics.
Well, this is a really special part of the podcast where we get a chance to talk to one of our awesome student athletes. And despite everything that she's got going on in a remarkable week that she's had that we're going to talk about and a week to come, which we're also going to talk about, we are honored to have Mariah Lopez stop by the podcast early this morning to give us an update. I mean, Mariah, you've had just a remarkable year, obviously leading our softball program in all regards. But as I was saying earlier in the taping with Mike, I don't know if in my 27 years of doing this, if I've ever seen an athlete accomplish what you have this last week. And I know you're going to talk about the team sport aspect of softball, which of course is true, but this is remarkable. Okay, so this is your week. Tell me if I'm missing anything in your week. You go up to Eugene, you guys sweep the Ducks, and oh, by the way, on the Sunday, you no-hit them for the first time in years. That allowed you to win the Pac-12 Pitcher of the Week on Monday. Tuesday must have been kind of quiet. Then Wednesday, you became a member of the All Pac-12 softball team, which is the best softball conference in America. I don't care about SEC. Let's see. Oh, and then you went down to Tucson, your former hometown, and you were the most valuable player, outstanding player of the tournament. Played down at Hillebrand Stadium. And you pitched us to victory to win the first ever championship. And then I know you had to get up at like 3:45 in the morning to catch the 6 a.m. flight back. And then you're with your teammates on Sunday to cap the full week, and you find out that your team is going to host here at home at Dumpke. So how are you doing?
I mean, I'm doing great. That was an unbelievable week. We just played like insane softball at that point.
What do you attribute that to? I mean, it was kind of building all year. You guys were really good all year, but what do you attribute just going up to Eugene? You guys exploded.
I mean, Coach DJ's been preaching hot in May, and so, I mean, we knew we were going to make postseason from, I guess, early on in the pack. We knew that we were going to make post, and so just getting our minds right to endure postseason. Like the end of the Eugene series, we were like, now it's a whole new season. We have to flip it and be ready for like as many games as we need to play.
You know, someone mentioned to me, I hadn't figured that out, that the draw gave you guys to kind of have some kind of a revenge tour a little bit, you know, and I don't know if that added a little juice. But the Cal and then Washington, which I know was one, I think we won the Friday game up there, and then they got us in those 2 other games. Did that play into it, or were you like, it didn't matter who we were playing, we're gonna bring back this trophy?
I mean, we knew that it was going to be revenge. All 3 games, we were like, it's a comeback. And so I think that we just played with an edge. Like, we knew we could beat anybody in the tournament, but proving it to everyone else that we could beat anybody in the Pac-12.
So let's talk a little bit about the game on Sunday with UCLA, which was, we haven't seen, Paul, I'm looking at Paul Kirk over here, we haven't seen any ratings yet, but we know it was on ESPN2. And if my phone was any indication, a lot of people were watching that game. Mm-hmm. You know, I remember we had motocross, so my son wanted to go to motocross, which, by the way, is an interesting event to go to. But anyway, I was more watching the game. And you and Amy had an exchange. You guys were out on the mound. Something was going on. I think we were down 3-1, or maybe it was 2-1. I can't remember. But it didn't really feel that way. I think it was even on hits, and you were hitting your spots. Was there ever any doubt that you guys were going to come back and win that game?
There wasn't doubt that we weren't going to win the game. I think there was a little bit of doubt in myself because that inning before that happened, Julia Jimenez got hit in the face, and then Sophie Jaquez that same inning hurt her knee in the outfield, and so like a lot of stuff was running through our minds, and like I think that like set us back for a second, and she came out and was like, look at the score, like it's 3-1, it feels like we're losing, like we're getting run ruled, and look at the score, like we're still in this game, keep us in this game, like they have your back, like they're gonna score all those runs. And I was like, okay. And then they did, and then we held them, and
it was. I appreciate you bringing up the injuries, because that was kind of like what's going on. Like all of a sudden, you know, 2 big time players for us, just kind of almost back to back. To your point, and I think that's been a little bit underreported. I mean, that can rattle a team, you know, especially those 2 in particular. And you guys were able to keep going on. I got to bring up something else, because I spent a lot of time in Tucson. You know, I was there for 17 years, and the rise of Arizona softball and the sold-out crowds. One thing I find remarkable about our team is we've got some, like you, some student athletes from Tucson. I mean, the way you played down there and others, just talk to me about what that was like, because obviously you guys had some family members there that didn't have very far to drive.
I think there's maybe 3 of us from Tucson, but quite a few of us from Arizona, and so everyone's family and friends were there, and I think just like playing in front of them and showing out for them was a big deal for us.
Yeah, I mean, it had to be. I mean, it's just remarkable moments. Well, let's take a step back now. Talk to us a little bit about your journey to coming from Arizona, coming here. Why did you choose to come to the University of Utah?
So, again, two of the girls that lived in Tucson ended up coming here, and Alyssa Bonstrom, her dad, kind of was like, why not Utah? Come on to
Parental
Utah.
recruiting.
And so I was like, yeah, let's check it out. I came on a visit, and I was like, absolutely. I loved it here, and obviously I didn't know much about the snow. I wasn't ever really around that.
When was your visit? We try to keep that quiet.
It was in the summer.
Yes,
yeah, they got me.
Strategery.
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't know about you kind of like me, because I grew up in LA, lived in Tucson and Tampa, and so the snow, they weren't exactly honest with me about the snow either, by the way. So you came here, it grabbed you right away, and you jumped right in. And then what we've seen in your first few years, you're in your third year, just kind of we didn't make the tournament. So talk a little bit about last year being literally listed by the NCAA, now that they're all transparent now, for good or bad, that we were the first team out. You guys obviously made a decision at that time. Talk about that this year was going to be different.
So I think that we made a huge jump from my freshman year to my sophomore year. I think that we were so much more competitive and had a better mindset last year. But, we had really high hopes that we were going to make the tournament last year, and we didn't. So after that moment, I think we all just decided to take it serious and put everything we had into it and buy in, really. And so I think over the summer and all in the fall, that was the hardest we've ever worked, and we just kind of came together as a team.
Boy, did you. I mean, you go from not getting in to hosting, which is just remarkable. All right, here's a question I've got from a few people since really, more eyes this weekend. Of course, we've seen it from you. You pitch over 100 pitches sometimes in a game, and I think, if I'm right, you had over 100-plus pitches against University of Washington, and then you came back, I don't know, less than 24 hours or maybe just at 24 hours and do it again. How do you do that? I mean, how does your arm, with due respect, not fly with the ball one time and fall off? Is that just because you've been doing it for so long? I mean, mentally and physically.
I think physically, your body's never in the right mindset. We're always on the go, but mentally, we kind of talked about we need to be really good mentally. It doesn't matter how bad you're hurting, everyone's hurting. Yeah. Being able to get it done for your team is huge, because I know that no one is 100%. And so if they're doing it, so can I.
I've seen a lot of performances, particularly this year. We were talking earlier about the success of so many of our teams in this year and last year. Obviously, softball going and doing what you guys do. You guys joined that club of champions. Let's talk a little bit away from your team, a little bit about what you're studying here and some of your interests outside of softball.
Okay. I'm majoring in psychology and getting a minor in sociology. I'm almost done with my major.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You're in upper class stuff.
Yeah.
That's hard, by the way. There's a lot of science in that psychology, right? There's a lot of different elements of that major. It's a tough major.
A little. Just a little.
Just enough to keep you rolling.
Yeah.
I can see why you're so mentally tough. What about when you're not doing softball and going to school? What's some of the things you enjoy to do?
Honestly, my teammates are my best friends. I'll hang out with them. We'll go to the pool. We'll have Mario Kart tournaments. I mean, those are my people.
Well, if you haven't, I encourage everyone to go to the Instagram and Twitter account of softball and see the moment they got back to the hotel after the championship. And speaking of hanging around the pool, I do believe I saw your entire team go into the pool, including your coaches go into the pool. Yeah. So all of a sudden there was no one in the pool, and then there was 35 people plus in the pool. And you probably just stayed in the pool and then you went straight to the airport, since I think you guys had to get there to get back. But Mariah, I just want to thank you for your time and just really acknowledge the fact that we're just so proud of you and this team. And we're taping here on a Tuesday going into what will be such an exciting weekend. Tickets are going off the shelf. It's going to be a real incredible environment. It's supposed to be mid-80s, no snow. So we're ready to roll. We have 2 Power 5 teams joining us, and obviously a really, really good, I was reading about them, the Southern Illinois team. So we'll have our work cut out for us. But if you can, and tell your teammates this too, just enjoy the moment, because you know how hard it is to just host. I mean, it's incredible. And then go out and win it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, good luck, and thanks for spending time with us today.
Thank you so much.
Follow the Utes on social media by searching for Utah Athletics on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And welcome back to the Hear from Harlan podcast. Great to have Mariah Lopez as a softball team drop by. And Mark, you look at her numbers the last month of the year. I mean, the no-hitter against Oregon to close out that series, and was just so dominant in the Pac-12 tournament. And what a great young woman.
Yeah, you know, it's fun in this position to see student athletes have their moment. In her case, I can't recall anyone, and I really was thinking about this, that's had quite a week that she's had. And it was fun to get her input on that. But she's incredible, and just encourage everybody to come out this weekend and to watch her and her teammates play. It'll be a special time to watch the Utes.
You talk about her last month, wins over number 5 Stanford, number 9 Washington, number 13 Oregon, then number 2 UCLA. I mean, that's a heck of a stretch.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. She just keeps throwing. It's just she just keeps going. It's remarkable.
All right, Mark, some other big news on campus. We have graduation that just took place a few weeks ago, and you know, you said to our staff, it's always kind of a nice time to just reflect and pause. And yes, there's still sports going on to wrap up our spring, but you hit graduation on May 4th. We had 109 athletes go through ceremonies here on campus, and it's just kind of a nice time to reflect and really recognize what their journey's been like. And we talk about COVID with this group and kind of the long stretch for some, almost 6 years, and to see them get their cap and gown and the diplomas a few weeks ago was pretty rewarding.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about 109. That's an impactful number, and think about all the lives they're going to enhance as they go out into the world, so to speak, and all the families. We have a tradition here. We do a kind of a rolling all day brunch that turns into kind of an early dinner type thing over at the basketball facility, and just the parents and the pride and the family members, because they're all part of this journey too. And
right.
And, you know, and then you're surrounded by all this athletic success that we've been talking about earlier. But really, that's it, right? To think about all these students. It's always remarkable, too, because so many of them are still competing and will be competing next year, right? It's just kind of this dynamic now that we find ourselves in post-COVID, which is awesome. We're not really saying goodbye to so many of them. We're congratulating so many of them. But remarkable year for them. And certainly I want to acknowledge our academic staff, who's just elite in the way they help guide these young people through being very, very busy, but also keeping focused on graduation.
Well, Mark, we'll have some big softball games over at Dumpke Family Softball Stadium this weekend. I remember when that thing opened, and now a chance to do the same for baseball is to get them on campus. It's been great down at Smith's Ballpark, a wonderful venue, but to have them on campus, and I know you've been hard at work with some others to raise some money for a new on-campus baseball facility. The Board of Trustees approved it on April 11th to go ahead and go with the project and try to open that thing as early as 2025. What can you tell us about the on-campus baseball facility project?
Well, it's been a long journey. You know, there's no question that was the one, program that didn't quite get enhanced through all the incredible facility projects that have gone on here for so many years, and a lot of feasibility studies done, different spots that it may or may not work. But after another really deep dive look at it, which certainly was inspired a little bit about the situation down at Smith's Ballpark, but we had been looking at it anyway. Really, the current practice site made a lot of sense. We work with Populous. We found a way to really fit in about 1,100 person stadium at most. Maybe 900 seats with a really nice berm. Much scaled down more to college baseball. For example, UCLA I think has about 1,000 seats at most. It's a great area because it's right across the street from the Eccles Field House, where we can utilize some shared facilities, obviously the dining hall, some other things. And then we'll be able to move the coaches' offices and kind of the whole the whole kind of clubhouse down there, which is what kind of the other teams have. So You're right, we got approval to do that, contingent on us raising, the $35 million. This has to be a full philanthropic approach to it. Can't hit our operational dollars, and we're really excited about where we're at in that way. But as soon as we get to that place, we'll be able to contract further and get the design worked out. We want to work with the community. We understand how close it is over there to the Harvard-Yale neighborhood. We want to be very cognizant of that. But this will be great. It'll be an all-turf field, right? So we'll be able to winterize it, hopefully get another maybe 4 weeks out of it is what they tell me, although last winter I'm not so sure, but on a typical winter. So we're really moving fast on that. It's certainly a priority. A lot of work ahead, but we're excited about where we're at.
From a practical side, downtown's been great, but when the Bees are in town, we play 11 o'clock on a Friday now. They have a Friday night game. Better times on Saturdays and Sundays. More students can come down from the dorms as we see more and more beds on this campus. It's going to be a win-win for everybody when that thing opens.
I really think so, and I appreciate you mentioning the Bees. Mark Amicone and the staff have always been so gracious to us. Certainly my 5 years here, getting the field ready. This year we all had our challenges, but they worked hard to get as many games in for us. And we'll continue to partner with them because obviously we may be in a construction area, so we may have to kind of do some practicing down there. And so they've been great partners, and they're going on their way, and we're going to continue to find our path forward. But I really think we have a solution.
All right, Mark, we talked a lot about NIL on this show in recent years, and the last collective to open, the Crimson Collective, we had the official launch the Friday before the Utah football spring game, and I know you've been involved with that group. It's been a long process. They've been very careful about things, but just tell us more about that group.
Well, if we back it up a little bit, NIL in general will be 2 years this July. Feels like 40, but 2 years this July, and I'm real proud of all the work that's been done, setting up the educational platforms, partnering with Lassonde Institute in the School of Business, Eccles School of Business, and all of that's going great. We have a directory where anyone can come onto the website, see what our students' interests are, if they want to support our students in employment and what have you. And we've seen a lot of results from that, and close to $3.5–4 million in overall contracted over the last few years. Everything from lessons to billboards, I like to say. But the thing that we had been working really hard on was trying to get a collective established that had a philanthropic piece to it. We have a great collective for gymnastics. We have a really good growing collective for basketball, men's basketball, and also what we didn't have, I should say, is really a philanthropic one that could really help football primarily, but also as we get philanthropic gifts, help other sports. And therein is what you refer to, the launch of the Crimson Collective. That was the leadership of Matt Garf, the Garf family, who's been so good to the University of Utah and certainly the athletic department. And Matt had a real desire to really assist with this. So they've got a board now, some famous names on there like Alex Smith and certainly Eric Weddle and others who they're going to be hiring an executive director here shortly. And out raising money to support these efforts. At the end of the day, I'm not shy in saying, what you have to do now to compete at this level, and we all like all this winning that's going on across all our sports, is you have to have great coaches always. You have to have a great university who's supportive, and you now really need this next piece, right? Which is the ability to earn. We're going to do it in an authentic way. We're going to do it in a way that keeps all the rules at forefront. But we want to be able to tell a recruit that if you come here, this is what the students on in this case football, are earning. And that's just important, right? Because I think that we know our competitors are doing it, and if it's something that's allowable, we want to be very good at it. So it's launched. You can go on their website. You can donate to them. You can do whatever you want in terms of employment or partnering with students. We're trying to make it as easy as we can, but it's also going to be an authentic approach to it. So I really appreciate Matt Garf, his leadership. I appreciate all the board members that have stepped up, people that have already donated to that. We're seeing a real surge in that. But I'm not going to be shy in saying we need people to consider that.
Yep.
We understand the Crimson Club is so critical for us, right? Am I critical for you in your day job?
Yes.
That supports scholarship, and that's never going to not be a priority for us and the things that we need to do. But this is another piece now. It's a new day, and we got to be really, really good at this to keep this winning going, and I know we can be.
You talk to fans about how do you get involved now. This is another layer, this NIL part of it. You've got major gifts. You've got annual giving, which is your ticketing and parking and scholarship funding. You've got sponsorships through Learfield. This really is just another part. It's not replacing things. It's more of an additive. And I know it's challenging for our people to figure out where to go and how much they can give. But as you said, this is a very critical part now, NIL, to be to have that on your campus is we're getting developed right now.
Yeah, that's right. And I appreciate you saying it's a challenge. And I recognize that, because sometimes people will say to me, well, Mark, what's the most important thing? And it's probably not the best thing for me to say everything. Right?
All the above.
But what is important is to make sure people understand how to do it, and then they can make their choices accordingly. And I think that's what we're really going to be spending a lot of time out this summer. The NCAA is okay with us being able to sit down and talk to people and talk about the collective. You know, at the end of the day, it's a separate 501c3. It's a separate entity, but it's there to support the student athletes at the University of Utah who are performing, functions, jobs, et cetera. So there'll be more to come on that. The structure is now all in place, and it's just now, as we always do, lean on our community and our fans and our supporters to really step up, lean in, and help in this new day.
Well, Mark, before we go, there's one more topic that was not on the show rundown, because I knew if I put it down, you'd say, no, I don't want to go there, but I think it's important. I want to congratulate you on being named the Cushman Wakefield FBS AD of the Year for 22-23. That's a huge award. And, if people like me have been around athletics, it's challenging when things are perfect. It has not been perfect with the pandemic. We had the death of 3 student athletes, unfortunately, on our campus, and your time here. There's been a lot of challenges, but yet you've gotten us through this. We're doing better than ever. As we talked about top of the show, our success at an all-time high. And just congratulations to you on your great work, and congrats on your award. Well deserved.
You're right. It's not on the rundown.
I'm going to ask for forgiveness and set permission on this one, Mark.
Mike, I appreciate that. It is an honor, and I have come to recognize that. But what I've really realized is that it's just a team honor. It really is. You can't do. There's not one person that does this. There's not one coach that does this. It's always a collective of a lot of different people that really have leaned into what we're trying to do here, which is graduate student athletes, provide the best student athlete experience we possibly can, despite, as what you said, a lot of different things that go on all the time, and win. This is not intramurals. We're here to win and provide the very best fan experience on top of all of that. So it was a nice honor. A lot of peers vote for that, so it meant a lot. But as I've mentioned in staff meetings, it's really about this being a team sport. But it's nice to have University of Utah recognized that way, We'll go forward. But yeah, it is a little awkward. And then of course, like 2 weeks later, you get this thing. Hey, do you want to buy tables to this event in Orlando? And I'm like, aha. That's why they got me. We hadn't probably bought tables to that event in a while, so I guess we got to send that stuff back.
I think there's more to it than that, but Mark, the team's the best it's ever been. It really is. I mean, you talk about 8 teams in the postseason. We talked about the championships, but our head coach, top-notch guy. Congratulations again.
I appreciate you, Mike. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks to our crew. Thanks to Mariah Lopez for dropping by. Thanks to Matt Sanchez, Nick Bolojap back in the house. Thanks to him and his work. Thanks to Paul Kirk for his help. And that will do it for our May edition of the Here from Harlan podcast. For Mark Harlan, I'm Mike Lagerschultz. Until next time, shalom, everybody.
This has been the Hear It From Harlan podcast. Subscribe and listen all year long as we keep you up to date on the Utes, the Pac-12 Conference, and collegiate athletics.